I betrayed my husband with his brother. The guilt is killing me after all these years. Hi everyone, I'm Emily, 30 years old, and I need to confess something that's been tearing me apart for years. I've been married to my husband Jake for 6 years, and we've built what looks like a perfect life. 2 beautiful kids, a cozy house in the suburbs, a love story that started at a music festival when I was 24. But I've done something unforgivable. I had an affair with Jake's younger brother Ryan for months, and Jake still doesn't know. I can't keep this inside anymore. It's eating me alive, and I need to tell someone, even if it's just strangers on the internet. I'm terrified of what you'll think, but I'm more terrified of living with this secret forever. Please hear me out before you judge me. I'm already drowning in guilt, and I don't know how to move forward. Jake and I met at a local music festival 6 years ago. I was 24, dancing barefoot in the grass, the sun warm on my skin, when I caught him staring at me from across the field. He was 28, a little shy, with this boyish smile that made my heart skip. We talked for hours that day, about my love for old vinyl records, his obsession with hiking trails, the way we both dreamed of visiting Italy even though we hated olives. By the end of the night I knew he was special. We dated for a year, falling deeper with every late-night coffee run, every hike where he'd hold my hand over rocky paths, every stolen kiss under the stars. We got married by a lake, wildflowers lining the aisle, the air smelling of pine as he slid the ring onto my finger, his hands trembling with emotion. I felt like the luckiest woman alive. For 6 years our marriage seemed unbreakable. We'd cook together, me laughing as I'd flick flour at him during pizza nights, him smearing sauce on my cheek just to kiss it off. We'd collapse into bed after movies, his arms around me, his breath warm on my neck as we whispered about our dreams. Kids, a bigger house, a life full of laughter. Our intimacy was magic. His kisses trailing down my freckled shoulders, my fingers threading through his hair, our bodies moving together in the quiet of our bedroom. I'd sigh his name, he'd whisper mine, and we'd laugh through the awkward moments, like when the bed creaked too loud or I'd accidentally elbow him in the ribs. Some mornings we'd wake up tangled in the sheets, the sun filtering through the curtains, and make love slow and tender, his hands on my waist, my lips on his collarbone, the world fading away until it was just us. I loved him so deeply, and I still do, which makes what I did so much worse. Ryan, Jake's younger brother, has always been a fixture in our lives. He's 28 now, 6 years younger than Jake, and they've been inseparable since they were kids, building forts in their backyard, trading comic books with a flashlight, sharing beers on the porch as adults. Ryan's the kind of guy who lights up a room, charismatic, funny, with a grin that makes you feel like you're in on his jokes. When Jake and I got married, Ryan became part of our little family. He'd drop by unannounced with a six-pack, crash on our couch after late nights of video games or movie marathons, and fit into our routine like he belonged. I liked him immediately. My quick wit matched his sarcasm, and we'd debate endlessly about movies, me defending Casablanca's romance, him arguing for The Godfather's grit. I'd tease him about his terrible taste in music, always some overplayed pop song, and he'd poke fun at my cookie-baking disasters, the kitchen filled with our laughter as I pulled yet another batch of rock-hard cookies from the oven. Jake would watch us, a smile on his face, and I felt so lucky to have them both. My husband and a brother-in-law who felt like a best friend. Maybe I got too comfortable with Ryan, laughing a little too hard at his dumb puns, letting my hand linger on his arm when I'd catch my breath, giving him playful shoves that felt a little too familiar. Jake never seemed to mind, he'd grin, thinking it was cute how close we were, how much like siblings we acted. But looking back, those moments were the first cracks in the foundation I didn't even know I was breaking. I didn't mean for it to happen. It started so subtly I didn't notice at first. I'd catch myself laughing too much at Ryan's jokes, my hand resting on his arm longer than it should, feeling the warmth of his skin under my fingers. I'd give him a playful shove during dinner, my fingers brushing his shoulder, and think nothing of it, just 2 people who got along, bonded by Jake. But one night, everything shifted in a way I couldn't ignore. It was around 2 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. Ryan had stayed late after movie night. We'd watched some cheesy rom-com, the 3 of us sprawled on the couch, Jake snoring softly by the end. He'd gone to bed, but Ryan and I stayed up talking about nothing important. Old memories, silly arguments, the kind of late-night chatter that feels deeper in the dark. We were on the couch, closer than we should have been, our knees touching, our voices low so we wouldn't wake Jake. The lamp cast a soft glow on Ryan's face, his eyes catching mine, and I felt this pull, this warmth I couldn't explain. My heart raced and I knew I should move away but I didn't. Our heads were inches apart, our whispers feeling too intimate, too charged. Then Jake appeared in the doorway, his hair mussed from sleep, and we jumped apart like we'd been caught. "Oh hey Jake, just talking about the movie's terrible ending," I stammered, forcing a smile that felt hollow. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous tick, and avoided Jake's gaze. "Yeah, awful plot twist," he added, his laugh forced. Jake nodded, grabbed a glass of water and muttered something about going back to bed, his footsteps fading up the stairs. My heart pounded as I sat there, the guilt creeping in like a cold wave. I told myself it was nothing, just a late-night moment, but the image of Ryan's hand so close to mine, the way my stomach had fluttered, wouldn't leave me. I pushed it down, convincing myself it was harmless, but deep down I knew I was lying to myself. What I haven't admitted until now, what I'm finally confessing here, is that Ryan and I had already crossed a line months before that night on the couch. It started one weekend when Jake was away for a work conference, stuck in some dreary hotel room 2 states away, working on a project deadline. I was home alone, the house feeling too quiet without him, and Ryan texted asking if I wanted company. I said yes, thinking it'd be nice to have someone to distract me from missing Jake. He showed up with a bottle of whiskey and we settled on the couch watching a rugby match on TV, the volume low so we could talk. We drank, laughed, the alcohol loosening us both, and the night blurred into something dangerous. We were joking about Jake's terrible taste in sports teams, our laughter filling the room, when Ryan's knee brushed mine. I didn't move away. The whiskey warmed my veins and suddenly, we were too close, our faces inches apart, the air thick with a tension I hadn't felt before. I don't know who moved first, maybe it was me, maybe him, but our lips met, tentative at first, then hungry, desperate. My hands found his shirt, his fingers tangled in my hair, and we stumbled to the bedroom, the one I shared with Jake, the guilt screaming in my mind but not loud enough to stop me. We didn't go all the way, not in the traditional sense. I told myself it wasn't real cheating because it was different, because we stayed within a boundary I could justify in my twisted logic. But it was real and it was wrong. I remember the way his hands gripped my hips, my back arching, the bed creaking softly beneath us, my breath coming in short gasps as I tried to block out the voice telling me to stop. It was quick, intense, the kind of moment that leaves you breathless and hollow at the same time. Afterward, I lay there, his arms still around me, the whiskey bottle on the nightstand, and the guilt hit me like a tidal wave. I told Ryan it couldn't happen again, that it was a mistake, but even as I said it, I knew I didn't mean it. That night ignited something I couldn't control. A pull, a need, a thrill I hated myself for craving. From then on we met whenever we could. When Jake was away on business trips, Ryan would come over, the house quiet except for our footsteps, our laughter, our secrets. We'd drink, talk, and inevitably end up in each other's arms, the guilt always there but never strong enough to stop us. Even when Jake was home we'd sneak around, the risk fueling our desire. I remember one night when Jake was at the office late finishing a project. Ryan came over and we didn't even make it to the bedroom. We ended up in the kitchen, my back against the counter, his hands on my thighs, the moonlight streaming through the window. It was the same kind of intimacy as before, quick and intense, my nails digging into his shoulders, his breath hot on my neck, the cold tile under my feet grounding me in the moment. I whispered for him to be quiet, terrified Jake might come home early, but the fear only made it more electric. We finished, breathless, and I straightened my clothes, my heart pounding with a mix of shame and adrenaline. Ryan left before Jake got home and I stood in the kitchen, scrubbing the counter like I could scrub away what I'd done. But I couldn't. There were so many close calls that still make my stomach drop when I think about them. One night after a party at our house, Ryan stayed over, too drunk to drive. We'd all had a good time. Friends filling the house, music blaring, Jake and I dancing in the kitchen, his hands on my waist as he spun me around. I felt so happy that night, so in love with Jake, but the guilt was always there, a shadow in the corner of my mind. Jake went to bed upstairs, exhausted, while I said I'd clean up downstairs. Ryan followed me to the guest bathroom, his eyes catching mine in the dim light, and we couldn't resist. The door clicked shut and we were pressed against the sink, my hand over his mouth to keep him quiet, his fingers gripping my hips, the same hurried intimacy we'd fallen into before. My breath hitched, my body trembling with the mix of fear and desire, the tiles cold against my skin, the mirror reflecting our shadows. We were so close to getting caught. Jake could have woken up, could have come downstairs, but he didn't. We finished, my legs shaking, and I pushed Ryan out of the bathroom, my heart racing as I splashed water on my face, trying to erase the evidence of what I'd done. Another close call came during a summer barbecue in our backyard. Jake was outside grilling burgers, the smoke curling into the air, the sizzle of meat a comforting rhythm as he chatted with our neighbors. I excused myself to grab more buns from the kitchen, my voice casual though my pulse was already quickening. Ryan followed a minute later, claiming he needed a drink, his tone just as light. We slipped into the pantry, the door barely closed before we were on each other, my back against the shelves, his hands on my waist, lifting my skirt just enough. It was the same kind of intimacy we'd started with, rushed and intense, my fingers digging into his arms, his breath hot on my neck, the shelves digging into my back as I bit my lip to stay silent. The thrill of Jake being just outside, the risk of him walking in, made my heart pound so hard I thought I'd pass out. We finished quickly, my body still trembling as I adjusted my clothes, wiping sweat from my brow. I grabbed the buns, walked back outside and handed them to Jake with a smile, my cheeks flushed, praying he wouldn't notice. "You okay? You look a little warm," he said, concern in his eyes. I laughed it off, saying the kitchen was hot, and he nodded, turning back to the grill. Ryan came out a moment later, a beer in hand, and sat across the yard, avoiding my gaze. The danger of those moments was intoxicating, but it was also tearing me apart. For years Jake stayed clueless and Ryan and I lived with the weight of our secret. We ended it eventually, the fear of getting caught too much to bear. It was after one of those close calls, I think it was the barbecue, that I realized we couldn't keep going. The guilt was suffocating me. Every time I looked at Jake, every time I held our kids, I felt like a fraud. I'd lie awake beside Jake, his arm around me, his breathing steady, and hate myself for what I'd done. I'd see Ryan at family dinners and we'd barely speak, the tension between us palpable but hidden under forced smiles. He moved in with his girlfriend eventually and our interactions cooled, but the memory of what we'd done lingered like a stain I couldn't wash out. I'd catch his eye across the table, a flicker of what we'd shared, and look away, my heart pounding with shame. Jake never suspected and I let him live in that ignorance, too cowardly to confess. But lately it's been unbearable. I see him watching me sometimes, a question in his eyes, and I wonder if he's starting to sense something. I can't keep this inside anymore. So here I am, spilling it all on Reddit, hoping for some kind of relief, some clarity, maybe even absolution. It started with those small moments. My laughter at Ryan's jokes, my hand on his arm, the night on the couch where we got too close. I should have stopped it then, but I didn't. That first time when Jake was away was a mistake I let spiral out of control. The whiskey, the rugby match, the way Ryan's knee brushed mine. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. I see it now, the moment our lips met, the stumble to the bedroom, the way his hands gripped my hips, my back arching, the bed creaking softly as I tried to block out the voice telling me to stop. I told myself it wasn't real because of how it happened, because it wasn't the usual intimacy, but that was a lie to ease my conscience. It was real and it was wrong. The close calls, the bathroom, the pantry, the kitchen counter, were reckless, driven by a thrill I can't excuse. I'd feel Ryan's breath on my neck, my body trembling, the fear of getting caught mixing with the rush of it all, and I'd hate myself even as I gave in. We ended it, but the damage is done. Jake deserves to know, but I'm terrified of losing him, of him looking at me with hate instead of love. Our kids deserve a family, but I don't deserve their trust. I think about our life. The mornings I'd wake up to Jake's sleepy smile, his hands on my waist as we made love, slow and tender, my fingers in his hair, the world fading away. I'd kiss the freckles on his nose, he'd laugh about my cold feet, and we'd hold each other like nothing else mattered. The way he'd kiss my neck, his hands gentle on my skin, my sighs filling the quiet of our room, it was everything I wanted. Ryan was there too, helping Jake build the deck, teasing me about my cooking, a brother I loved like family. Our camping trip with Ryan and Jake struggling with the tent while I sang off-key, burning marshmallows, feels like a lie now. Every memory is tainted by my betrayal. I didn't see it coming, didn't mean to hurt anyone, but I did. The doubt in Jake's eyes lately. Did he see us that night? Does he suspect? Haunts me. I should confess, but I'm scared. What if he leaves? What if he hates me forever? After that night on the couch, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Jake, his arm around me, and felt sick. Why had we been so close? Why had our whispers felt so charged? I told myself it was nothing, but the image stuck. Ryan's hand near mine, the pull I felt. At work the next day I zoned out, replaying it, my heart racing with guilt. Over the months, I noticed other moments. Ryan staying late, me walking him to the door, our voices low, my laughter from the hall feeling wrong. I'd catch his glance across the table, a look that lingered, and look away, my stomach twisting. I should have stopped, but I didn't. I trusted myself to keep it platonic, but I failed. When Jake was away, the house felt empty and Ryan filled it. Those work trips, 2 nights in a hotel, me calling him, were when it started. I'd say I missed him, picturing him waiting, but Ryan was there, the whiskey flowing, the line crossed in a blur. Did I hesitate? Yes, but not enough. I see it now. Me leaning into him, his hand on my back, the guilt we hid with smiles. It continued even at home, the lawnmower drowning out the world while we slipped into the garage, my back against the workbench, his breath on my neck. I'd return, flushed, praying Jake wouldn't notice. He didn't. The close calls were my fault. That party night, Jake asleep upstairs, the bathroom door clicking, my hand on Ryan's mouth, his grip on the sink, the thrill sickening me now. At a picnic, I said I needed a drink, Ryan followed, and behind the shed the risk was electric. We were back before Jake looked, with excuses, just needed air. My smile fake. We ended it, the fear too much, but the memory lingers. I catch Ryan's eye at dinners, a flicker of guilt, and turn away. Jake's doubt grows. Does he know? I can't ask. I should confess, but I'm paralyzed. Our life, Christmas mornings, summer barbecues, board game nights, feels like a lie. Ryan moved out, visits lessened, and Jake and I settled into routine, his touch still warm. But the unease is constant. I see him watching me, a question in his gaze, and wonder if he's piecing it together. I should tell him, but I'm terrified. I cheated with Ryan, I'd say, and what then? Divorce? Hate? I can't lose him, but I can't live with this. To this day he doesn't know, and I'm the one who keeps it hidden, a shadow I can't escape. I need advice. Should I confess? Can I live with this silence? Please help me.